right, so my name is Jamarhl Crawford, one of the first speakers that we're going to have. RCC was gracious enough to host us and allow us to do this on their campus. Originally, of course, we were scheduled for the courtyard, and they were even more gracious in allowing us to use the lobby of the Media Arts building. Dr. Janey here is a representative from the RCC administration, and she is going to read a statement on behalf of Roxbury Community College. Dr. Janey.
Thank you, Jamal. Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie C. Janey, and I'm the Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Affairs here at RCC. After examining the facts of this case, Dan Conley has determined that what many witnesses believe to have been the excessive use of force by law enforcement officials was merely officers acting in the line of duty. It is unfortunate that this incident occurred in our community and on our campus. Violence in any form is antithetical to the values that guide this institution of higher learning. Those values are excellence, accountability, integrity, and respect. Let us continue to work together to stop the violence in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Janey, for that statement. And now, really to begin, I want to just go over a couple of basic, what I call common sense points. So, for instance, the new information that was brought out that this young man may have had a weapon, or that we didn't know if he had a weapon, can be proven wrong by their own version of events. They allowed the DYS officer to approach the young man first. If they thought, in fact, that this young man had a weapon, the DYS personnel would not have been the first engagement. Secondly, officers most likely would have approached the suspect with guns drawn. Also, too, another point of erroneous fact is this whole thorough investigation, speaking to eyewitnesses. We know for a fact that the DA was unable to speak with many people, and this is a problem in our community because of the lack of trust between the DA, the Boston Police. Many people don't want to be bothered. They don't want to speak. They don't want to get involved at that level. They're fearful for their own safety, and they're fearful of retribution. We heard that time and time again in this case. We also have eyewitnesses who saw the Boston Police Department on the campus subsequent to this incident, who were, let's say, searching for students who could have been potential witnesses in a very aggressive manner, a manner that did not make the students feel comfortable in telling their story or sharing their story with the Boston Police. Many have typified it to me as harassment, and they feel as though that they were really dealt with in a very unfair manner here on the campus, not by RCC, but by the Boston Police, who came and asked questions and threatened during the incident itself, threatened to take people's camera phones and so on and so forth, which we all know is a violation of that person's rights. Okay, so there's many points in this case where we have problems. Some of the story now is not the story that was originally presented and does not jive. It also does not do anything to speak to the records of some of these officers involved. By now, many of us know Officer Michael McManus, who was involved in another high-profile case in the death of David Woodman, who died outside the Celtics game, who died in their custody by stop breathing. And Michael McManus was participatory in that group of officers who arrested that young man. Also, the Department of Youth Services officer, Officer Shields, also from what I understand, and I do not have evidence to back it up other than anecdotal stories from DYS personnel and also young men who have been through the system, that Officer Shields is also another officer who has a record of very aggressively handling particularly young Black, Latino, and Cape Verdean men. So these officers have their own records. None of that came into play. Of course, they brought in their independent witness during their independent investigation. You'll hear from many people today who will tell you it's very difficult, if not impossible, for the district attorney to conduct an independent investigation on the Boston Police Department that he works with hand in hand, day in and day out. So now I'd like to bring up Sarah Wunsch. Would you like to begin?
I'd actually like to go after.
After Howard Friedman? All right, Attorney Howard Friedman, thank you.
Hi, my name is Howard Friedman. I'm a civil rights lawyer. I met the lawyer who represented the estate of David Woodman. The fact that District Attorney Conley decided not to bring criminal charges against any Boston police officer is not news. In his 9.5 years as District Attorney Conley has never brought criminal charges against a Boston police officer for use of force against a citizen while on duty. That actually doesn't happen. The District Attorney's job, of course, is to investigate crimes. As Jamarhl said, the District Attorney is not independent of the Boston Police. The Suffolk County District Attorney works with Boston police officers in almost all of his cases. So this is not some independent review, nor is it a review of all procedures or violations of police policy. That should be left to the department, which we understand has also cleared all of the officers. But what's interesting in the report of District Attorney Conley, when you get to the last page, that's always the best page, page 8, he talks about the expert he did hire, Professor Connor, and actually what the professor had to say was, in part, critical of the Boston police. He says the professor was critical of the officer's inability to gain control and handcuff the suspect. In fact, the blows that we all saw that don't appear to be reasonable, the expert says they were meaningless. They weren't effective in gaining compliance. Well, the expert says, oh, the officers were acting in good faith, meaning they were trying to do something appropriate, handcuff someone. They weren't using force directed towards that aim. Constitutionally, the standard is one of reasonableness. So if the officers weren't using force to accomplish a police purpose, it would be my view that that force was not reasonable, that it was unconstitutional, even if the officers were in good faith. The Supreme Court has said the officer's state of mind in using force is not the relevant criteria. So, the other thing that the report does say is there's a need for more training and supervision, because he also, their expert, criticized the way this incident was handled. There were a large number of officers there, all supposedly acting with the same purpose, none of them acting together. Their expert has said, obviously, when you have 5 people together, you should work together. They were acting individually. That's a problem, and it's a problem in part of police supervision. There were ranking officers, sergeant, at least at the scene. Someone is supposed to give orders. Someone is supposed to tell the officers what to do, what not to do, coordinate an effort to handcuff someone safely, quickly, so no one is hurt, and so that, for the police point of view, you don't have a videotape showing someone with his blood on the floor of Roxbury Community College. That should not have happened, and hopefully there'll be changes as a result of this. And for that to happen, those of us from the community here will have to make sure we keep an eye on the Boston Police Department to see that they learn from this incident and don't wipe it under the rug. The fact that they decided to release this story on a Friday so people wouldn't know about it makes me suspect that they'd rather people not know about it. I'm glad that you are all here to report on it. Thank you.